Hi, my name is Sam Johnson and I'm a voice teacher. Today I'm going to be reacting to and analyzing Anthony Vincent of 10 Second Songs performing top 10 hardest vocal lines to sing.
I asked you just a month ago to please provide me with some of the hardest vocal lines to sing to see how bad I suck or how good I am. The whole trick to this is that I want to just attempt them almost on the spot. I don't want to practice them too much, and I really legitimately want to see if I can actually sing some of the hardest vocal lines or the hardest songs or vocal parts that you can come up with. Alice in Chains, Man in the Box. I'd always put Man in the Box on a real high pedestal. The notes that are in the chorus were always the highest notes in my range back years ago, and I'd always practice Man in the Box, and I'd always butcher Man in the Box over and over again. In fact, here's a clip of me in 2009 singing it live.
On that one, when he starts going down to the lower note, the B flat actually worked pretty well, but when you got to the A flat, it just stopped working. That's right on a bridge. It's a hard place to work through.
Oh boy. I'm looking at this
rough.
and I'm like, was it so hard to just go, Wait, about 10 years later, this is my redemption. Now keep in mind, this is a controlled environment, whereas the park performance was not, but still.
He's letting so much of that kind of nasty, quacky sound come in at the lower part of his range, and when he gets to the high part, it's that kind of vowel shape. With all of the distortion on top of it. But good vowel shapes are good vowel shapes, whether you're singing or screaming or anything. Like, good vowels are good vowels.
Dream On, Aerosmith, you know the part. Obviously, this is the part of the song that everyone waits for. If you ever see anybody try to sing this in karaoke, everyone's like, oh, here comes the part. Let's see this person butcher this part.
But that's not going to happen right now, because I'm about to tell you the secret about singing this song. You got to tap into the spirit of rock and roll. Dream on, dream on, dream on, dream on, dream on, dream on, dream on. All right, baby, come on. Dream for the here, dream for the here.
When he went up to the really high note, it actually tuned the formant more like how a classical female would do it. It sounded a little bit hootier, and then he covered that up with the distortion sound. Then he opened everything up, which made it sound more like the tone of everything leading up to it. But there is just this one moment where he jumps up to that high note where it sounds like it thins out. There's a different acoustic thing for a second, which is interesting, like just that kind of way to find how to start singing that. That's a really high note. That's an A flat. I can't sing that note reliably, so I never sing that song. Good for you, Anthony.
We have Eminem, Rap God, that one bit. The thing about this, the reason why it's so difficult, I think if you're doing it at the original tempo, you have to stay on tempo, stay on the beat. Eminem does it in 2 different breaths on recording. So it's staying on tempo, the original tempo, having the breath to do it, and most importantly, having the pronunciation.
Some of them are doing, I'm a human, what I gotta do to get it through you, I'm superhuman, innovative, animated, opposite of anything, stays, but shit, enough of me, and it'll glue to you, I'm devastating, more than ever demonstrating, and give a mother be into feeling like it's irritating, never fading, and another hit is the thought, if I'm waiting for the they can say you fell off the celebrating, cause another way to get motivated, I make elevating music, you make elevator music, well, he's too mainstream, well, that's what they do, and they get jealous and confuse it, it's not hip-hop, it's pop, cause I found a hell of a way to fuse it, with rock, shock pop, with talk, don't lose yourself, make them lose it.
So with that one, your mouth is like this the entire way through, which to me makes it harder for that song. With really, really fast rap, if we're able to just minimize movement, which, well, that being said, you did minimize all your movement because it was really just your tongue kind of doing all of the work. But I think that if you just relaxed everything, then it would have less room to move between to get all of these different consonants and everything, because that's a really hard song. And you're right, there are a few things that are hard about it, like being understood when you're doing fast rap like that is essential, because people still listen to words more than anything else for some reason. No idea why. But being understood is really important, and having enough air to get through that is important. So now I'm gonna try that. Similima dumilima, you assuming I'm a human. What I gotta do to get it through to you? I'm superhuman, innovative, and I'm made of rubber so that anything you say is ricochet enough of me and it'll glue to you. I'm devastating, more than ever demonstrating now to
Oops.
audience a feeling like it's levitating, never fading, and I know the haters are forever waiting for the day that they can say I felt like they be celebrating, because I know the way to get them motivated. I make elevating music. You make elevator music. So you can get the whole thing with one breath. So how do you do that? How do you use that air and not run out? One big thing is not hemorrhaging air every single time that you go to the next consonant. A lot of times people, when they are trying to be understood, they really hit all of them hard, all of the consonants. Every time that you do that, a little bit of extra air gets through. It's impossible, because then you're using all of this air that could be used to get a good vibration. All that I'm thinking of is, how do I keep an even airflow where it's not a variable amount of air every time that we get to a consonant? And another thing is just keeping an even amount of chord closure and an even phonation all the way through. So it's basically just and I could hold that out for a really long time. Samalama dumalama, you assuming I'm a human. What I gotta do to get it through to you? I'm superhuman. And then all of this is staying the same, so we're not going to run out of air. What is changing is just consonant and vowel. But that's not really feeding back and affecting what we're doing with the air and muscle, so that you can actually get through the whole thing with one breath. So first, see if you can just do that. If you can even just make sound all the way through the phrase. And then after you're able to do that, and you know that the breath isn't really an issue, then start adding in the words and see if you can get as fast as he is able to do that. You have to go so slow to start with that. Sumalama dumalama, you assuming I'm a human. What I gotta do to get it through to you? I'm superhuman, innovative, and I'm made of rubber. So even when it's slower, you're able to get every part of that. That's kind of the trick with really fast rap.
Take on Me, so many octaves. It's one of those songs that just, for some reason or another, people look for that high note because it's the high note in the song. So your mind is tricked to just think that the note is so high when it's not that high. A lot of people talk about in a day or two being the big famous line and difficult thing. I think what's more difficult is in a day at the end. It's more of a mixed voice. It's not just a take on me, take me on.
That's a really good sound.
I'll be gone, nothing I'll take.
That's only an E.
Take me on, I'll be gone in a time.
Yeah, the first time you flipped, he handled that first one in the same way that you handled the Dream On, where it was more of that like flip place for a second. On the day, or you started pulling up chest. Like, I think that yes, you were mixing, it was so much heavier, but if I'd be curious to see what would happen if we went from the place of flipped, like, yeah, it's too different. You have to do it. Just the vowel of two makes it way headier. It's kind of hard to start gradually adding that back in. So maybe there was a little bit of extra pull, but I mean, you made it up to that E with that wider vowel that is going to encourage more chest voice or more mix, because you're still letting it move around. That's a hard song. You're right. The first one is not that hard because it's the ooh. Getting it on that different vowel with the kind of tone that you want is going to be much harder. He obviously added in a little bit of extra distortion just because that's his style. I don't think that that was on the original recording. So if we were trying to make it sound exactly like the original recording, maybe the way that I was wanting to do it would work. But at the same time, like, as soon as you start changing the vowel, it feels so different. Like, you need to have a little bit more of a hold on. So play around with that. How do those feel different? Just singing that same note on ooh and on an eh. Like, see if you can even do it, because it's really hard.
Crimson and Clover over and over.
Crimson and Clover.
See, that's the trick, is to do it without the tremolo effect that's on the vocal, because that's an effect. But if you do it without it and you do it a cappella, it sounds like Crimson and Clover, over and over, Crimson and Clover.
That's hard. We're playing with onsets. So there are a few different types of onsets. There is an aspirate where we're letting the air move through first, which sounds like this. Ha, ha. There is a glottal onset where the vocal cords start together with a ah, ah. There is a balanced one where the air and muscle start more together. Ah, ah. There is a vocal fry where we start with fry. Ah, ah. When he was doing that, Crimson Clover, it's kind of a lighter balanced one, so it's closer to the aspirate because he's still keeping air moving between all of these, but there is a little puff every single time because he's stopping the phonation. Just for a second, it phonates, and then it stops again, and then it's a little bit more, and then it stops again. It's interesting to try that using different onsets. Like if I was starting it with the glottal, you won't run out of air as fast as if you're trying it with the Crimson Clover, because every time that we start an onset with a little burst of air like that, it makes the chords not stay together as much because we're just like adjusting the balance between air and muscle. It's making it a lot more airy. You're using more gas, like you're gonna run out of the tank a little bit earlier. So if you had to do like a really long line like that, I would probably start by trying to train it with more of a glottal first and then add in the aspirate after without losing the amount of closure that you have. Like Crimson Clover, Crimson Clover. See, it starts having a little bit more substance to it, but that starts changing the style. So we really just need to balance, like, if you're going to be able to make it through the phrase without losing all of your air. If you're not able to make it through the phrase, start playing with how you're doing that onset and then bringing it back from a level of having some chord closure rather than just starting with, here's all the air of the air is getting through.
Down with the sickness.
That goes to the exact opposite. We're going from the Crimson to where it's got that glottal stop. You can kind of get it like that, and then you just need to add in the distortion. If you start with the distortion, like I used to do when I was first playing around with this song, it seems like it makes people grab a little bit too much, and then they're not able to get the agility of moving between the two. But if you're able to just turn on and off that little muscle, then you're going to be able to start adding in the distortion on top.
How about Vitas at 257 in opera number 2?
So you went into it in that very narrow space. Can you start dropping the jaw when you get to that top one? More than It seems like as you started coming back down, that's where you opened the space, which worked on the way down. And we're up in this area where every little change that you make with your mouth shape is going to have a big difference because all of the frequencies are spread out further because it's higher. Like this A is A440. When we got up here, it's A880. So that's a difference of 440. Where if we go down here, it's 220, which is a difference of 220. So it's just all of the notes are further apart. And so every adjustment that we make with our mouth is to find something that's further apart. And so the adjustments tend to be a lot more specific because we don't have as much gray area with what's going to work. Usually up at that super high place, to the C sharp, people need to start opening their mouths. Like, go watch classical sopranos while they're singing really, really high parts. It's wide, it's big, it's this huge sound. And you had a very, very small amount of space between your teeth when you were doing that. So I just want to know what would happen if you started opening it up like that.
Chorus from Chandelier by Sia. This is Chandelier if a metal vocalist, if a power metal vocalist sings to a pop beat.
Swing from the chandelier, from the chandelier. some gotta swing from the chandelier, from the chandelier.
One thing that I'm noticing, he's showing so much teeth at the top of his range, which one of my favorite teachers, Mark Reynolds, who has done a few videos with me, he is really passionate about showing the upper teeth, especially when we get into that high tenor range. And a lot of what he's doing right now is that like place right above high classical tenor. There's not a lot of classical tenor music that goes up that high, but it's very teethy, and it looks like his mouth is going to this place all the time, which to me sounds like it's helping him find that kind of whiny sound, which is everything in power metal. It's such a good sound. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment below what you think the hardest songs to sing are. Go check out Anthony's channel. There is a video around here that if you click on it takes you right there. Thank you.